Hey everybody, anyone is here, and I am on the RMCT FTB server. Now, I know you've seen this place in the last episode, slightly, and this episode we are going to work in here. And as you can see, we've made a lot of progress in here. This is going to be the killing room, the killing floor. First thing you'll notice is you do not see a wither fighting arena anymore, because we took it out. We are going to be putting the wither fighting arena somewhere over here, and the plan is we are going to make it huge. It's going to be an epic one, and you'll be able to actually fight the wither. The problem with the way we had it before is it took up a couple of these bays, which we could really use, and B, it was just too small. It made it too easy. You could just sit there and hit the wither and he'd eventually die. So there's no challenge there. So we're going to make it over there. It's going to be a lot bigger. It's going to be nicer. And it's going to be more fun to fight. But that is not what we're working on today. Today, we are going to automate the turning on and off of these different spawning rooms. So as you can see, around here, we have about 11 different spawners. Pork, sheep, spiders, zombie pigmen, chickens. What else do we got? Mushrooms. These are regular skeletons. That is blazes, right? Creepers, endermen, wither skeletons, and that is it. That is it for right here. We're thinking about expanding it, but we're not 100% sure yet how we're going to do it. And actually, you know what? That is not it. We also have another one down here. Let's just open up this handy-dandy room. Right down here, which inside of here, and I think there's a way to get up to it from here. Yeah. Inside of here, we have a Minotaur spawner, 2 of them, I believe, 2 of those slime bug spawners, and a red cap spawner. Now, these are just regular spawners. You can't make shards out of these. That's why we have these out of the way. They need to be in a dark room, and they're not really something that we use too much of anyway. Let's get back up there. And as you can see, all the stuff pipe into here, and this is where we're collecting all the materials. We're actually processing some of these materials, so when the the beef comes, we have a barrel right here that's going to fill up of raw beef, and then we have a barrel right here that's going to fill up of cooked beef, so we can have both. We're doing the same thing with our zombie pigman farm. We are processing the gold nuggets and then also turning them into gold pieces. Ingots, and it's actually pretty simple how we do that, and I'm a big fan of it. So for the actual beef, and we're doing the same thing with pork, but as you can see, we don't really have any pork. Oh no. What did that go into? Yeah, let's get my steak back. As you can see, we don't have any pork in there. We don't really run that one too often, but they come into here. They buffer into this barrel, and just because when it's running, the spawner runs quicker than this electric furnace, fully upgraded, by the way, can cook them. So we just have this barrel as a pretty large buffer. It'll never run so long that this buffer will get filled. And, you know, it cooks it up and sends it on its way up to there. For right here, to turn... What are we turning here? We are turning gold nuggets into gold ingots. And basically what happens is the gold ingots coming from here, hit this filter that only allows gold nuggets right now, goes into this chest, and then the sorting machine pulls them out in stacks of 9, which go into this packager right here. I don't know why there's one in there. Goes into this packager. This packager turns it into a gold block and sends it on its merry way. And if you just want to take a look at what that looks like, it's really cool how that packager works. I have one in my inventory, so let's just get a few more. One more, okay. Now, if you just put... so basically the way this works is it tries to make either a 2x2 grid or a 3x3 grid of the item. So when I put these 9 gold nuggets in there, it's first going to try to craft it in a 2x2, which gold nuggets don't craft into anything in a 2x2. Then it's going to try to craft it in a 3x3, which gold nugget will turn into an iron ingot in a 3x3. So we put that in there, stamps it as an iron ingot, and gets sent on its way. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like how that's running. We're also using these jammies. That's not a battery box. The... I forget what it's called. Kinetic power generator, I think. Let's see. Kinetic. I think it's a kinetic or something like that. But basically, Yeah, kinetic generator. Oh, no, no, not the kinetic generator. It's a different type of generator. Hold on. Now it's just going to bug me. Okay, whatever. Forget it. Basically, what it does is it turns the heat and the cold getting from this lava and water into red power, blue electricity, whatever, to power this sorting machine. And just to give you an idea of how inefficient it is, this is a row of 5 of them. You can only see 3 here, but it goes down 2 more, as you can see right there. And these 5 only give off as much power as 1 solar panel would. So it's really not that efficient, but it's the only way we're going to generate it down here because we're pretty low. We're at 44 in the middle of a mountain, so yeah. Anyways, so that's basically what we have going around here. This room is going to become really, really cool and convenient once it's done, and it is used pretty well right now. What we also have built here is a library. So we'll have an XP mode, and when the different mobs get spawned, they fall into this room, this little chute, and these turtles kill them. Under the turtles, and let's just make a hole and get down there. Under the turtles, there is an XP turtle. This guy right here is an XP turtle. So basically right now he is just sucking up XP, but what he's eventually going to be doing is, well, pulling books out of this chest, enchanting them, and sending them on their merry way back into the network. And then when it gets into the network, it's going to go back, oh, keep falling. It is going to go back over here and filter into these guys, which we have all nice and sorted. Took me a while to get through this, but the first thing we have to do is automate turning on and off these rooms. So right now we just have these switches. So if I wanted to turn on pigs, I just flip this switch and pigs start going. As you can see, they land right here. These are I think these are drop. So these turtles aren't doing anything to them. They're just dying from the fall. But if you look at something like, we'll say these wither skeletons, turn this baby on. Now, as you can see, it's going to drop them far enough for a one-hit kill, and then the turtle's going to kill them. And the turtles will take short process of them. They kill them really, really quick. And as you can see, the XP turtle is pulling all the XP into it. It's really hard to show you that, because if I get too close, I pull the XP. But let's see. Yeah, there you go. From right here, you can see the XP turtle is pulling all that XP. But if I needed XP, I could just stand here and get it. Cool. Okay. So what we're going to do today, as I said, is we're going to automate this process. And how we're going to do that with, of course, ComputerCraft. Now, Benchy made me this nice big room, so I have a ton of room to work with, but I don't need it. This is pretty much all I need. The only thing else I'm going to need is this is going to be eventually controlled by touchscreen panel. And the touchscreen is going to be within this wall. The future goal for this is 2 screens. One screen to control the turning on and off of all of these guys, so you can turn on XP mode or specific spawners if you need specific things, etc. The other panel, the other screen, is going to show the status of the enchanting turtle and all of these books. Author Blues of RMCT, he made, which some of you guys, if you are on the Feed the Beast subreddit, made this really cool Tim the Enchanter script that's basically a heads-up GUI of the enchanting process. It's really cool. It has this display bar. It tells you how many books it enchanted, how much XP it has, yada, 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 yada. So we're going to implement his Tim the Enchanter using this XP turtle, who also has, let's get down there. Oh, there we go. This XP turtle, who also has a wireless module. So that's an upgrade we are going to do to his script to support wireless, which is really, really cool. So the first thing we're going to have to do is set up how we're going to control all of these different rooms. And the way we're going to do that is pretty simple. So the way a soul shard spawner works is these are tier 5s. So that means whenever there's no redstone signal going to it, it will just spawn the animal, the mob, or whatever it is. And it does not matter what dimension it's in. So if the mob belongs in, let's say, the nether, this will completely ignore it, which is really cool. And it also does it at any light level. So what we need to do is first make sure that we're always giving this a redstone signal. There's two ways we can do that. We can just hook up the wireless receiver right to it and always have the redstone signal on. But that's kind of backwards, right? Because then at the computer system, we will have to send off an on notice to turn it off and an off notice to turn it on, which really is not what we want to do. It gets a little confusing. So we're going to use a NOT gate. And a NOT gate is really simple. When it's not getting powered, it's lit. When it is getting powered, it's not lit. Very, very simple and straightforward. So what we're going to do is break this. This is what's connecting to this, the actual switch. And now you can see, now that there's no redstone power going to it, it is spawning. So next, we are going to put down a NOT gate. Well, actually, no. First, we have to put down a block because you cannot connect redstone directly to a jacketed cable. So that's not going to work. What we need to do is put down a block, and then we're going to connect the jacketed redstone cable to the block with a piece of red alloy. So basically, just click right between here, and boom. Now that is connected to there. Awesome. So next thing we're going to do is put down our NOT gates. Boom. So now this baby's getting powered. It's powering the block, which is powering the jacketed redstone cable, which is powering the soul shard. And now looky here, it has stopped going. Cool. So next thing we need to do is put down a wireless receiver. Awesome. Now the wireless receiver, when it gets a signal, it's going to power the NOT gate, which is going to remove power from the block, which is going to stop powering the soul shard, and it's going to turn on. Wireless receivers are actually pretty easy to use. If you first look at the GUI, and this is actually the advanced, this is the simple GUI for it. Basically, all you have to do is set it a frequency. Boom, that's it. We're going to make this 4001. If you want to go a little advanced, and this is probably the best way to do it, you could come in here, and not only can you set the frequency, but you could save it. So as you can see, I have anyone's test here saved. Well, that's actually what 4001 is. So I can come in here, set that, and now if I change the frequency, we could see anyone's test is in this here. So we're set for 3991 right now. But let's say we wanted to use anyone's test. Boom, sets the frequency, done. Okay, so now you could see that this wireless receiver is set for the 4001 frequency. In my hand right here, I have a wireless, let's just, hold on. Let's just not set this. Remove it for a second. I have a wireless remote. Now, this wireless remote will allow me to control wireless redstone. Pretty straightforward and simple. All you have to do is, just like the wireless receiver, you have to set its frequency. So to set the frequency of a wireless remote, you have to hold shift and right click. The reason you have to hold shift and right click is just by right clicking, you press the button. So it's shift, right click, and now we're in the pretty much same setup as we were a minute ago. So the GUI for the wireless remote is the same as the wireless receiver, other than it says wireless remote up here. So as you can see, I already have this set up as 4001, but if I had it set it for anything else, let's set that. Why didn't I? I wonder why it doesn't show up in there. But we can put the 4001. Let's just, set this to 4001. Great. Okay, so now our wireless remote is set to 4001. And you can see that, but it actually tells you 4001. And you could also actually click that, and now it will be set to. So if, let's say, just to show you, it goes both ways. So let's break that for a second. Put it back down. Now it's at 0. Since this is set for 4001, if I right-click this receiver with this remote, boom, it sets it to 4001. Cool. So now, when we trigger this wireless remote, it's going to trigger this wireless receiver, which is going to turn off this NOT gate and turn on the soul shard. So let's give it a try. Pressing the button, boom, turned off, and you can hear the pigs going. Very, very cool. So what I'm going to have to do is do this setup over every one of these different spawning pads. There's nothing in here. To every one of these different spawning pads, and I'm going to have to write down what frequency I'm going to have to use for the different mobs. So instead of making you stand here and watch me do that, which is going to get very repetitive, let me set that all up, and we will be back with the next stage of this project. Okay, I am back, and there was a pretty big flaw in my design that I had to fix. So basically, this is the setup that I had up there. It was a NOT gate connected to our wireless receiver. And basically what would happen is when it received a redstone signal, it would turn off. And when it stopped getting a redstone signal, it would turn back on. Great. The problem was the way I had it set up here. So what would happen would be this would change to the channel it needs to be. It would light up the redstone. And then as soon as it stopped lighting up the redstone, the spawner would turn off. That's not what we want to do, because we want to be able to keep on multiple of these at once. So I changed the design a little bit, and let's just get up there and I can show you what I did. So now I still have the NOT gate, but between the NOT gate and the wireless receiver, I have a switch. So basically what happens is, and let's just set this to the right frequency. So basically what happens now is, instead of like down there, where it would be on when it's receiving a redstone signal and off when it's not, what happens here is when it receives a redstone signal, it switches on. As you can see, that latch just went, and now this is on. And when it takes a redstone signal again, it switches off. Cool. But then I had another problem. There was really no way of detecting whether something was on or off. I'd basically just send it a redstone pulse, so it would turn on, and send another redstone pulse, so it would turn off. The way I came around that is here, I am also adding a redstone transceiver. So basically what happens is, when it is off, this block is powered, and this is powered also. And it's sending out a signal. So as you can see, this is set for 4001. This is set for 4101. So what I'm able to do is, if I want to check if a spawner is turned on, all I have to do is check this frequency. If there is a redstone signal on this frequency, that means it's off. And if I turn it on, you see the redstone frequency is, there's no redstone there anymore. So I can check that frequency. If there's no redstone signal, that means it's on. Pretty straightforward. And I was able to redesign all of these guys. Whoop, again, this is not one. And go around and add that to all of them. Cool. So here is the computer, and I have not started the touch screen, but I have this pretty much working. So as you can see, here is the receiver, and this is where it checks to see if the spawner that you're trying to activate is on or off. And then this is the transceiver that turns it on or off. Pretty straightforward. Now here is the code. And again, I tried to make this very easy to understand and follow. So basically, the first thing you see are two lines here: trans side, and receive side. Basically, it's asking which side is the transceiver on, which side is the receiver on. Back and right, like I showed you a second ago. And then it just wraps those two peripherals. One is trans, one is receive. Cool. So now it creates two different tables. One table for all the frequencies to associate a spawner to the frequency for turning them on. And one table called mob table off that associates the actual spawner, the mob type, to a frequency to check if it is off. I changed up my functions a little bit. So here is the enable spawner mob. So the first thing you'll see is it checks if the mob is disabled or not. So let's run down to that function that I wrote. And it's really, really simple. Basically, it sets the frequency of the receiver, which is that guy right there, to whatever mob we want to check. And then it just checks to see if it's getting a redstone signal. If it's getting a redstone signal, then it returns true that the mob is disabled. If it doesn't get a redstone signal, it sets it as false. So it is enabled. Cool. So now you can look at my function for the enable spawner. It checks to see if the mob is disabled. If the mob is disabled, if check mob disabled mob, then it sets the frequency to the transmitter, sends a pulse, sleeps for 0.4, turns that pulse off. Now the sleep here is kind of important. Wireless redstone can get a little bit laggy, and any pulse is less than about 0.3 seconds could be lost. So you always want to set your frequency, your sleep, to more than 0.3 seconds. I have 0.4 here. 0.3 might work, but I don't know if I'd really trust it. So basically what this is saying is turn on the redstone signal, wait 0.4 seconds, turn off. And what that's going to do is switch the latch that we've seen before and enable the mob. Here it just tells you, I just added a little print so you know that it's enabled. And then if this comes up false, if check mod disabled is false, that means it's already enabled. So it just prints already enabled and doesn't do anything. I also added this little reset here just to always reset the frequency back to 0. I was having a problem where when things were going too fast, it wouldn't set the frequency quick enough and it would enable a different spawner. So I just wanted to make sure that didn't happen. The check disabled spawner, the function disable spawner is pretty much the same thing as enable spawner, just backwards. So now what it does is it checks if it's disabled. If it is, it just prints already disabled. If it's not, it sets the frequency and turns it off by just sending another pulse, true and false, blah, 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 blah. Very simple. I added one more function, and what this allows me to do is disable all the spawners. So what I want is whenever the computer system boots up and other times throughout the script, what we can get into later, I want to make sure that all the spawners are turned off. So basically what this does is it just creates a function that does a for loop through the mob table on, and tries to disable each spawner. And then basically it calls this function with the mob name, and this does its already check. And so if it's already disabled, it just prints already disabled and moves on. If it's not disabled, if it's enabled, it turns it off. Very, very cool. And then here, as you can see, I already started writing the functions for the XP mode, but I haven't finished that yet. And then here, this is just the logic. It takes the arguments. If there's no argument, it just prints out a usage. What's really cool about this here is that I want it to be very modular, very easy to add mobs to this system. So all you really have to do is add them to the mob table, and the print usage will actually read from that mob table, so you don't have to edit anything. So if I wanted to add another spawner, I just add it to the mob table, and it'll show up everywhere. Cool. So, and this is all the same code that you see before. If enabled, which I'm not sure if I showed you before, if the argument is enable, and the second string is not blank, does not equal nil, then it will enable spawner using the string that you send as the second variable argument. The same thing for disabled. If the first argument is disabled and the second one is not nil, it will then disable spawner sending that argument. And then the third here is just disable all, and it runs the disable all function. What you will notice here is I'm taking all the input that the user sends me and makes it lowercase, just so things aren't case sensitive. Cool. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So let's give it a try. So I'm just going to show you it working on a command line basis, and then I will throw together a quick touchscreen, install it, and show you it as fully functioning. But right now the script does work. It just doesn't have a nice touchscreen interface. So let's say we wanted to turn on, let's say, pigmen, right? Very cool. So we could just go into here, spawner enable pigmen. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Pigman. Right. And now Pigman is enabled. And there you go. You see him coming through. Very, very cool. And as you can see here, what it did is it set this frequency to the frequency of the Pigman, gave it a pulse, and then reset it. Very cool. And now we want to disable it. So what you'll see here is right now this is on 4104, but if we do spawner disable Pigman, sets the frequency, gives it a pulse. I'm sorry, no, all it does is set the frequency to the pigman, sees if there's a pulse there, if there's redstone. If it is, it knows that it is enabled and turns it off. Very, very cool the way it works. And then there's the disable all function that I talked about. So let's just enable a couple of these. Spawner enable pig. And pig is now enabled. Spawner enable sheep. Whoop. It's now enabled, and spawner enable, let's say, skeletons. Skeleton. Boom. And now all three of those are enabled. We see skeletons, we see pigs, and we should see sheep. And sheep, yeah. So now those are all on. There you go. And now if we wanted to disable all of them instead of one at a time, spawner. I'll get it. There you go. Disable all. Very cool. And as you can see, it loops through all of them. It sees that the sheep is enabled, so it disabled it. It sees that the enderman is already disabled, so it didn't do anything. Same thing with mushrooms. Disabled the pig spawner. Creepers are already disabled. Cave spiders already disabled. Blaze pigmen already disabled. It's seen that the skeleton was not disabled, so it disabled it. And then chicken and wither skeletons were already disabled. Very, very cool. And basically that just cycles through this receiver, checks to see if it's enabled. If it is, sends out the signal to disable it. Very cool and straightforward. So now I'm going to get this installed somewhere over here. I'm not going to show you through all the code. I will make this code available on Pastebin. It's going to be very actually easy to implement for you guys. All you have to do is do a setup similar to this, as well as the matching frequencies up by your spawner with this setup. Very simple and straightforward. So let me get that set up with some nice touchscreen buttons and set up the XP mode, and we could start testing it and looking at it. We're getting a little long with this episode, so I probably won't be able to do anything other than show you the touchscreen working. But next time, once I get that touchscreen working, next time we will work on getting the XP turtle down there to make books. Very cool. So I'll get that done, and we will be back in 1 second. Sorry guys, I just noticed how long the episode already is, so I'm not going to be able to finish the touchscreen panel today. So I'm going to call that the end of this episode. Next time, between this and next episode, I'll get the touchscreen working, and I could show you how that works and how it's implemented, and also how you guys can install it yourself in your own killing room next episode, as well as get the XP turtle down there auto-enchanting and getting this library full of books, which is the ultimate goal of this whole area, is just have stacks and stacks of just all the books. And if you need a book, you just walk up to it, boom, and done. Very cool. So that's it for this time, and thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.